first of all, congrats on working with one of the greatest directors alive right now on this film.
Thank you. He is.
You know, I read a quote from him where he said that he thinks every man has a 16-year-old girl inside.
Yes.
Which, especially as someone who works with alternative press, I've felt that way for many years. But as someone who was the actual 16-year-old girl when you made this movie, right?
Right.
What do you think about that and sort of how that idea sort of feeds into what this story became?
You know, Nick and I created this friendship, which is this very strong bond that kind of just happened immediately when we met on the film. And I didn't even know if I, was going to get the part or not, but it was this kind of energy that it was like, it clicked, and we started this kind of collaboration, which I had never been such a team with a director before. It was, I'd come in the mornings and he'd ask me, well, what do you want to do? And if I didn't feel comfortable with something of, certain things like, well, I'm a teenager and teenagers don't talk that way, or we don't dress like that.
Right.
And he would change it. So we constantly were changing things, and we had that freedom because we filmed in chronological order.
Well, I think that every man has, a teenage girl inside of him, for all the things that comes with that. It's very individual, depending on who you are. But I do believe that creativity is feminine, its origin. And I think that the more masculine you are, the more feminine you really become. So I always say that I was born a man, but I'm actually a woman. You didn't know that, did you?
That explains so much.
Oh, now it makes sense.
The music was a huge part in it, even on set life, because we didn't have the soundtrack of it yet, but it was because there's not much dialogue, so he would play lots of music during the takes. So you became very kind of rhythmic, and you would kind of be doing these dances in a way while you were filming, and it helped to, and you would play different genres of music for different scenes and things.
Elle and I were trying to remember the song. I mean, I don't think we ever knew the song titles, and they always seemed to be very obscure, strange European trance music. And he'd play it repeatedly, the catwalk scene. There was just one song that he just played on a loop for days. He likes to set the tone on set, I guess, as much as he does in the film. When I got cast in this film, I was so excited. I was driving around listening to the Drive soundtrack. Yeah.
That rules. And I understand you play music on the set.
I do. I don't just play it on the set. Whenever I make a movie, I try to make a piece of music out of it. I mean, I can't play a note, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't play an instrument. But I find a piece of music that would define the film if it was a piece of music. And on the Neon Demon, we would hear a lot of Giorgio Moroder. So a lot of Moroder when writing goes on, a lot of Giorgio Moroder when we were shooting. And then Cliff Martinez, who composes the music, who does the actual musicality, comes in and puts his vision on it.
Former drummer of the Chili Peppers.
That is correct. Captain Beefheart.
Yeah, wow.
The soundtrack is awesome.
Oh, this
is
is Cliff
so
at his
good.
best.
Yeah, it is so good.
Yeah, and I mean, and Drive, of course. I mean, Bella was saying when she got cast in this film, she put on the Drive soundtrack and was like,
I think the score is really affecting. And I think there's a nice, he's using in such really traditional, what the masters have done in terms of film editing and music and the audience, and taking time, being impressionistic, and being literal. Sometimes he tells you exactly how to feel or guide you, and he does a lot of I don't know, there's also sometimes a mix of you're not quite, whether it's tension, but then there's also humor.
It's part of the pulse of the whole
thing.
That's
a good word for it. The pulse of the editing, picture and sound. And he's definitely using it as sometimes the primary color. That's right present to help you guide to these images that you're watching.
It is interesting. There's this entire world out there that is fashion and beauty, and it's everywhere we look, and it is so often a female experience, and I see my husband or my friends see it from an outside, but this film is sort of putting yourself in and being able to experience what I experience on a daily basis, but you don't really get to delve into that world, and it's a fantasy.
And I indulge in it.
Taking that, doing that journey with Nick Refn, and being in his world and seeing a genius work like that. It was very, very special. I learned so much.